Hello, welcome back my lovelies. If you're new here, I'm Luz, and on this week's video we are going to be talking about every single book I read in the month of July. I've made myself a coffee. Let me show you a little close-up of the books that I have read this month. I've also just got like an oat latte, my usual go-to situation, but I've added some cinnamon in there and given it like a little you know what I mean, little handheld whisk situation. So let's see what it tastes like. That's good. I think I maybe might have put a little bit too much cinnamon in. Now, in case I haven't shared my bookshelf revamp before I share this, I'm not sure which is going to come first currently. So it may be that you are seeing this before I've shared the full revamp situation, but my mini book corner has now turned into a mini library, and we have got a whole new shelf which I will be showing you and showcasing the whole process in another vlog that is to come. I am in love. I am in love with the final outcome. I love it so much. There's so much more extra light. Everything just feels gorgeous and I never want to leave this corner ever. Anyway, I digress. Let's talk about all the books I read in July. I read a total of 10 books in the month of July, and there was a lot to love about the books and the quality of books that I was reading. I am firmly back in my fantasy era now, and it's just back to back to back fantasy on repeat, and I'm living for every single second of it. Grab yourselves a drink, let's get cozy, and let's yap about all the books I read in July. The first 3 books I'm going to talk to you about are the ones that I did the 24-hour reading vlog for. So if you've seen that, you'll already know my thoughts, and if you haven't, that is available for you guys to watch if you are intrigued as to the whole process. One of these books did absolutely break me. Yeah, maybe we should start by talking about the book that broke me, the book that I can't stop thinking about since I read, and the book that's just done an absolute number on me, and I don't think I've ever had a reading experience like it. It was so special. I was so glad that I included it in the 24-hour readathon because it meant I got to document and share my experience with you guys, and it was a special one. It was really, really special for me, and I still can't stop thinking about this book. And the book obviously was Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. 6 stars, god tier all the way, one of my all-time favorite books that I've ever read. This was just a beautiful, 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 raw and emotive story that was told in the best possible way. You've got a dual timeline situation here, and if you don't know what this is about astronauts, it's about space, it's about NASA. That is the fundamentals. And with this book, we follow Joan. So with the dual timelines, you have got present day where they are on a mission, and that is kind of the main point of the story. But then you also go back to the past and you are learning about these characters, about how they all met, about how the relationships developed. And as you're doing these two things both at the same time, your relationships and your connections with these characters build and grow. And they're keeping on going, they're building to a point, to a peak. The story is doing the same. It leads you along the most emotionally, like I don't have the words for the number that this book did on me, because I cried in the middle and I was like, yeah, this is emotional, this is oof, yeah. But then I absolutely just got broken and my heart got ripped to shreds at the end. I wouldn't change a thing. It is one of those ones that's an emotional read. You definitely want to have the tissues at the ready, but it's also one of those books where it's like, it hurts, but it heals. And those are my favorite kind of books. I love love. I love their love. This book is set in the 80s. It's interesting because that feels like a long time ago, but then there are parallels to now as well. Like, a lot has changed, but then sometimes I think actually has that much changed. I am a true believer in that you should be able to love freely and wholly and proudly, and love is a privilege for a lot of us, but it shouldn't be that way. Like, we should get to love who we want and say it with our chests. I think this book is a beautiful exploration of that and the difficulties that people go through, and I just connected with these characters on a whole other level, and I will never not be recommending this book. It is one of my all-time faves, and if you haven't read it yet, I cannot recommend it enough. beautiful. You guys really said Heartbreak Summer this month, and so we carried on with Addicted to You. So this is book 1 in the Addicted series, and this series gets a lot of hype. It gets a lot of talk about. People love to love this series. For me, it was on a similar pedestal to Boys of Tommen. I'd been putting it off for a while, but I was also equally very much drawn to it and wondering what people were loving about this. Why is it so good? What kind of things are people reading? What experience am I gonna have with this book? Let me tell you, I ate this book up. I was addicted, I was obsessed, I didn't want to put it down. And I was like, yeah, I get the hype. I get it. This follows our 2 main characters. One of them is addicted to sex, the other is addicted to alcohol. They're 2 best friends, but they're also liars, they're also lovers. And this is their love story. And it is as toxic and messy as it sounds. There is no limits to the chaos that happens within the pages of this book. And there comes a point where you're like, okay, it can't get any worse. Oh, it does. It really, really does. Similar toxicity level to that of Magnolia Parks. That is the kind of reference. And to be honest, I have been looking for a series that feels similar to the Magnolia Parks universe. This definitely feels like it's going to be the perfect series to fill the gap that is in my life, because I've now finished that. Do I think this will be for everybody? No. Definitely not. I think the people that love it, I can see why, but then I can also appreciate why people wouldn't enjoy this. And that for some it's just going to be too toxic, too messy, and it's going to be like, nah, this is not my cup of tea. And that is completely valid. But if you enjoyed the Magnolia Parks world, if you enjoyed Gossip Girl, both of those things, I think you'll really, really enjoy this. Just went to the front of this book and there is a recommended reading order. So it crosses over with the Calloway sisters, that series. So I think Addicted and the Calloway series, you can read them both. There's a specific reading order, so I might document my reading with that too, to maybe share whether that's a good reading order, how I find it, etc, etc, etc. I gave this a 4 stars and I really enjoyed it, and it was addictive and obsessive, and if you want something that you can just absolutely binge, this is for you. Then we jumped on to this, which is A Fate of Wrath and Flame by K.A. Tucker. Guys, this is so underhyped. So underhyped. I could not even believe what I was reading. I've been putting this off for the longest time. It's been sat on my shelf forever. This follows Romeria. She is in the human world, which is modern day, which I love. So I was like, ooh, it's giving a little bit of urban fantasy. Her services are then required at sword point. She has to go to this elven realm in this mysterious kingdom, and she then takes on the body of a treacherous elven princess. And under no circumstances can she reveal who she truly actually is. There's this whole underlying plot that's taking place. There's magic, there's vampires, there's elves, there's mysterious creatures, there's gods, there's monsters, you name it, this has got it. The blend of urban fantasy with regular fantasy was done so seamlessly. Sometimes I think that can be a little bit icky, a bit cringe, and it can sometimes put me off, but this, K.A. Tucker did it masterfully. I fully believed in the world that she created. I felt fully transported, and I just wanted to know more the entire time. I was like, yeah, keep it coming, let's go. Romantasy is so back. I enjoyed the characters a lot. However, I didn't feel massively connected to them. So I did end up giving this a 4 stars, and that is just a reflection of that. But I feel like the more we learn about them, the more we're going to grow with them, and the higher the rating of the books will be. So I think this is a fab start to the series, and I'm really excited to see how we progress with this world. I also finished Iron Gold this month. This had carried over from June's month because I really enjoyed the Red Rising series, and then I got to this book and I was like, wait, Luce, first of all, you've left like over a year between reading book 3 and book 4. Why did you do that? Why do you think that was a good idea? My head was an absolute shed trying to figure out who everybody was, what was happening. We have like 4 different POVs in this book, and 3 of these characters, I have no idea who they are. I was like, wait, who are you? How does this link? And the POVs don't start to link into the story. The pieces of the puzzle don't start to link together with the POVs until like over halfway. So for the first 50%, I was literally like, oh, this is a struggle, like a real huge struggle, but I'm gonna trust the process, because I have heard that book 4 is a bit of a struggle, but the payoff is worth it for book 5 and book 6. So we pushed through, and don't get me wrong, it was action packed, the plot was plotting. I was like, okay, these are all the classic things I love about this series, but by God, are you making me work for it? I think what would have made this book so much better is if at the beginning of the book had a little recap as to what had happened with the last book. I definitely would not recommend leaving it a long time. Just go, just back to back it, and maybe you'll have a better experience than I did. I gave this 3.5 stars, and it was just based on the fact that I just spent the entire time trying to figure out what the heck was going on. So if that hadn't have been the case, maybe I would have rated it higher. But I feel as though it set us up for book 5 and 6 nicely, and I've got my fingers crossed that the payoff will be worth it. Next up, we need to talk about Diabound. Now, if you have been online, you'll have seen that Diabound has literally been here, there, and everywhere. Everybody's talking about it, everybody's raving about it. Some of my close friends have been like, Luce, when are you gonna read it? So I was like, okay, fine. Ireland, I will read this and I will see what all the hype is about. The primary source and the focal point is direwolves in this book, and I haven't read anything like that in a long time, actually. So I was like, yeah, I want some wolfish fantasy in my life. Let's go. It didn't disappoint. And this is Sable's debut novel. Her debut. Take a bow. Oh, it was absolutely golden. It was addictive. It was fast paced, and it ticked so many of the boxes that I was looking for it to tick. I was obsessed with the wolf concept, and Asa in particular, she was a powerhouse, brave, fierce, feisty. Yeah, that concept just completely ate, and I lived, ate and breathed for that. There's just so much love about wolves. It is actually one of my favourite fantasy elements in books. Also, another one of my favourite elements was the whole bonding and learning to be part of the pack. I thought that was portrayed really, really well. I love the whole concept, and I found that to be super, super, super interesting. And I could also see how it was giving the star a found family, which I was here for. I feel as though it set us up very, very nicely, and book 2 is just gonna delve and dive deeper into all of these elements, and we're gonna see them come to fruition. I loved Stark and his grumpy, moody energy, and I definitely also want more of him in book 2, especially if we could get his POV. If we could get his POV in book 2, I would be set. And I think collectively, I can say on behalf of all of us, we probably all felt the exact same way about the kitten nickname. Like, let's just not even go there, shall we? No, not for me. Not for me, not for anybody, I don't think. There was a point in the book where it was like, I felt a little bit like I was banging my head against a brick wall, in terms of, I was like, hold on, I feel as though your wolf has got all the answers, and you are just not communicating with her, and your wolf is not communicating with you. All you guys need to do is have a conversation. There was a little bit of miscommunication happening, and it was just starting to drive me a little bit mad. And I turned the page, and problem solved. Problem solved. I was like, oh, okay, this is the perfect time for that to end, because I feel as though if it had have gone on any longer, I'd have been like, not doing it for me. But it was just at the peak time. Just at the peak time, we started getting answers to questions. Some of the questions have been answered, some of the questions have not been answered. Some of the points in the plot, I was like, I don't know if this makes entire sense in my brain. I need a little bit of clarity on this, and I am hoping that we get that with book 2. But to say this is Sable's debut novel just blew my mind. If you don't know anything about this one, this follows our female main character, and she has lived all her life in poverty, and then one day her sister is kidnapped, and the only way that she can go to the front to try and find her sister and bring her back to safety is by becoming part of the king's elite warriors. And it just so happens that at the same time our female main character tries to become one of the guard's elites, at the same time there is also the bonding happening. Now, these bonded trials take place every so many years. They are a huge privilege to be a part of. People dedicate their entire life to doing these trials and to becoming bonded to a wolf. Our female main character, she's never wanted that. She's never wanted that, and she has never viewed them in a positive light. However, when she goes to become part of this elite guard, the bonded trials are also taking place. She doesn't have a choice. She has to enter them. And the story proceeds from there. It's about wolves. It's about magic. It's about secrets. There's a lot happening. It's fast-paced, action-packed. So much going on. Yeah. This This is a good one. I gave it 4.5 stars and I loved it. Then I obviously went away on a staycation and I took Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez with me. And again, if you've seen the video of the staycation, you will know that the majority of the girls there gave this a 5 stars. So I was like, oh, that's 5 stars across the board. That's pretty unheard of actually for a group to collectively all have a similar experience with. I was like, yeah, I feel like I'm in for a really good time with this one. Abby, what did you put in this book? What did you put in this book? Jacob and how he is portrayed in particular is so special. The anxiety representation and the mental health representation in this, especially portrayed in a male main character, I love that. I love that. I don't feel like we see it enough. And so to see how anxiety plays out in a man portrayed in a contemporary romance genre, oh, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. It was raw. And how Brianna supports him through that and how he supports her, how they love each other, how they lift each other up, how they make their worlds better and brighter. Oh my good God, it is so precious and so special. I love their love. I love them. And he literally gives her an organ. He gives her a freaking organ. Acts of service. Does it get better than that? I don't know that it does. They write each other letters, compliment each other. So beautiful. And I was championing them from the start to the very, very finish and beyond. And obviously, this was a 5-star read. I also had Blood of Hercules to listen to last month by Jasmine Mass, and this was Laura's creator pick from the month before. It had overlapped from June until July, and I was like, okay, it's fine, doesn't matter. But I knew that Laura had really enjoyed this book. She said it was a good time. It's Why Choose. It's about Spartans, so it's got like a Greek mythology kind of twist to it, which is like, okay, the whole concept of this has me intrigued and I want to know more. I love Why Choose. And I did listen to this on audiobook, and I feel like I maybe would have had a better experience if I had have read the physical as opposed to listening to this one, is what I will say. For me, this felt like a crossover between Zodiac Academy and The Bonds That Tie. I could see elements of both interlinked in this, and I love both of those series. So I was truly in my element. Like, this was fun and funny, both of those things. And I say it a lot, but for a book to actually make me laugh out loud, it takes quite a bit. And I found myself actually laughing out loud. I was like, oh, this female main character and her little sidekick situation. Her sidekick was also really funny, and they bantered between each other, and it was just gorgeous and golden, and I loved it, and I lived for every little interaction of theirs. It was so good. There are a lot of secrets and therefore a lot of questions with this book as you go. I felt like our FMC spent the majority of this time being delirious. It was funny and I laughed out loud, but at certain points it felt a little bit overdone, and I was like, okay, does she need to be delirious throughout the entirety of this book? Is that essential to the story? I don't know. And at certain points, I felt like she was just giving up, and I really wanted her to embrace her true nature. But having said that, the way that Jasmine wrote that then made it so that at the end hits so much better and so much harder, because you are frustrated at points with her in the book. The ending is way, way better than if she had have, embraced her true nature in the middle or at the beginning. I just don't feel like it would have worked as well. So even though I did feel a little bit frustrated in the middle, it was worth it. The payoff, yeah, here for it. The tension was also definitely tensioning, and I don't feel like we got to see a lot of the White Shoes in this. I feel as though it's setting up the foundation for the White Shoes, and all of the White Shoes will be in book 2, and I can't wait. So you've got sexy Spartans, you've got secrets. It's super easy, fast paced, with a Greek mythology spin. I gave this 3.75 stars in the end. What's not to love? The next book I picked up was This Monster of Mine by Shalini Avisakara. Oh wow, this is special, this one. So this is a Rome-inspired romantasy, and Shalini has created not only her own world, but her own language as well. And so what I will say for this one is that the glossary was my literal best friend. I could not have coped without the glossary. So our 18-year-old FMC in this doesn't know why, but 4 years ago, someone tried to her. The case was closed and nobody was dealt their justice. No culprit was found. She is hellbent on vengeance. So she returns to the scene of the crime. She returns as a petitor. I think that's how you say that word, which is basically a prosecutor who can magically detect lies. She is then assigned basically to work with a judge. There are 4 judges, and he is the most mysterious and dark of them all, and he has a huge reputation. So the story kind of proceeds from there. She wants to uncover all their secrets and she wants to get answers to who she is and why things that happen to her happen to her. This is filled to the brim with corrupt politics, secrets, a really different and interesting magic system, and it's dark and it's twisty, and I personally think this would be the perfect autumn read. So if you're thinking about reading it, this is definitely one for your autumn, TBR. I ended up giving this 4 stars, and it was just because it did take me a while to figure things out, especially in the beginning. I found myself having to reread the page a few times just for things to try and make sense, but that's because she just built this beautiful, complex world, and I needed to give it the time that it deserved. This was just a beautiful take on romantasy, and it felt fresh and new. We're also gonna get a book 2. I did feel like when I read this, oh okay, this is a one and done, it feels like a standalone, but there's a book 2 coming, and I'm excited to see what happens with book 2 and where else and what else we're gonna find out about this world. I finally read Redeeming 6. Oh, this one hurt. This one hurt. I was a little at a loss for words as to how this book made me feel. How I felt was too great for words. This sent me on the biggest emotional roller coaster. Saving 6 already was pulling at my heartstrings. Already I was all in for Joey and Aoife and their story and their love, and my heart was breaking for them in the first part of their story. We jumped to the second part of their story and I was like, ah, I'm scared. I'm so scared for them. I just need them to be okay. If you thought your heart broke at book 1 or book 2 or book 3, there's nothing compared to the heartache you go through in book 4. And like, I'm just reading it. I know these characters aren't real, but they're the ones going through it. I'm just reading it and it is so painful. Like, definitely check the triggers, definitely protect your peace with this one. I wouldn't change a thing. And I was so surprised at how much I love this, because I can't say what tropes are in this without giving away spoilers, so I'm not gonna do that. But there were tropes in this that I normally do not like. I really don't like, and they feature heavily in this, and normally I'd be like, I can't read, I actually need to DNF this because this trope just really checks me out. I was fully invested. I loved it, and it's so weird for me to say that because I don't know a single book that I've actually truly enjoyed that has this particular thing in it, but it just added so much more to their story and created a whole new level of depth. I know that's really mysterious and probably quite annoying to say, but I don't want to ruin it just in case you haven't read it or are wanting to read it. I want you to have the full experience. Joey and Aoife are just relentless. They are fierce, they are brave, they are protectors. I just want to protect them at all costs. They are made for each other, and this was the most perfect ending to their story we could have asked for. I sobbed, I laughed, I went on that classic Boys of Tom and roller coaster that you go on with every single book, and this was just perfect. 5 stars. If you're thinking about reading it, again, have the tissues at the ready. It's gonna pull at your heartstrings, but it's gonna heal you at the same time. So I'm now gonna be taking the big break between picking up this one and book 5 because I need my heart to recover. It's emotionally a lot. The whole series is emotionally a lot, but they are, for me, a god tier series. And then finally, I rounded up the month with Empire of Flame and Thorns, which was one of the creators' picks. This was from Livy. It's one of those ones where I've kind of already forgotten what happened, which to me speaks quite a lot about the experience that I had with it. But what I will say is that this is about a Fey rebel, a ruthless dragon commander, and a deadly trial that's going to turn their lives upside down. That's the premise for this book. All the things that I normally like and love and adore, and I definitely did enjoy this. The dragon rider vibes for me were a huge plus. I was like, yeah, this is speaking my language. I love anything dragon coded, and this especially, I love that concept. The male main character really carried this story. He was super strong just in terms of his overall character, not in terms of his muscles, but he was actually just like a strong character, and I loved him, and any interaction we had with him, I was like, yeah, I want more. Oh, there was a lot of cinnamon at the end of that. Hold on. Also, can we just take a minute for how cute my gorgeous water bottle is? I'm obsessed with her. She's gorgeous. Anyway, as I was saying, this this I listened to again on audio, and it was one of those ones where I kind of wish I'd read the physical as opposed to the audio, because I don't know if the audio kind of impacted the experience I had with this. I did feel quite disconnected from the characters, and I also did feel that I could predict where the storyline was going quite early on. Therefore, that just meant that I wasn't as invested. I wasn't as invested and I wasn't as connected. So in the end, I gave this 3.5 stars, and it was, like I say, fun, easy, love the dragon concept, and if you're wanting a book that you can just binge through that's going to be fast paced, all of the above, nothing super serious, then this is that. When I finished and I went on Goodreads to have a look at what other people were saying, a lot of people love this, a lot of people loved it, a lot of people ate it up. So as I always think with this, just take my reviews and my feelings of these books with a pinch of salt, and please, please, please go read them and enjoy them and form your own opinions of them and see what you think, and then let me know in the comments. Let me know. I think sharing and talking about your experiences, obviously in a positive way, is one of the best things about reading, because I want to know. I want to know what you experienced. I want to know how you felt about it. I think there's a way of doing things. People like yucking other people's yums. Not about that. If people love a book, let them love it. Let them enjoy it. But also at the same time, let's have a conversation. What did you think? Why did you think these things? Anyway, that was a serious deep dive into that whole side of things. If I had to choose a favourite read for the month of July, I would obviously say Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. 6 stars, new all-time fave, and so special. And then probably my least fave this month would probably be Empire of Flame and Thorns. I just didn't connect on the level that I wanted to. So that rounds up all the books I read in the month of July, and crikey, it has been quite the month, and I am really excited for all the books I am hoping to read in August and to see what's in store for us. I've got a good feeling. So far so good. Fantasy has been flying, and I can't wait to see what else is on the cards for us. But that is everything for this week's video. Thank you so much as always for watching, and I will see you guys at the next one.